Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
We begin with breaking news implicating India in the slaying of a prominent Sikh leader here in Canada. The shocking accusation leveled at a major world power, one threatening to strain an already rocky relationship between the two countries. Good evening. The news shared by the Prime Minister himself. Canadian intelligence services investigating credible information about a potential link between the government of India and the murder of a man in BC earlier this year.
Ottawa already ordering the expulsion of a top Indian diplomat as people across this country wait to see what happens next. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver is tracking the developments.
When Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the G20, foreign interference was brought up, and so was the Sikh separatist movement. The Indian government afterwards scolded Canada in a release criticizing Canada for allegedly tolerating, quote, anti-India activities of extremist elements in Canada. And today, some potential reasons behind those tense interactions. The Prime Minister revealed Canadian intelligence agencies have credible intelligence and allegations showing India was behind the mid-June murder of a Sikh leader in Surrey, BC. Evidence the Prime Minister says was brought up in, quote, no uncertain terms with Modi while in India.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
As of today, and as a consequence, we've expelled a top Indian diplomat from Canada.
Now, the foreign minister says she's leaving tonight for New York City, where the UN General Assembly is going on this week. The foreign minister says she will bring up this issue with her counterparts. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is going too, but Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is skipping it. The RCMP is investigating the death. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
And this is a story that continues to develop. Our online team is tracking every angle. You can find that coverage at ctvnews.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
Straight ahead, Ottawa grills Canada's biggest grocers over the rising cost of food, but why those CEOs won't commit to lower prices. But first is some developing news and more violence on Toronto's transit system. This time, the scene is Kennedy Station.
A young person hurt in a shooting right in the middle of the after-school rush. Our John Musselman is live with more on what happened. John.
Well, Michelle, we know that the injuries here are not considered life-threatening, but it did happen at the subway station here at Kennedy, and it did affect service. Reports of shots fired came in just after 3 p.m. at the Kennedy subway station. When police arrived on scene, the victim was gone, but the youth was located a short time later at a residence nearby. He was taken to hospital. His injuries are not considered life-threatening. The shooting forced the closure of subway service between Warden and Kennedy. All buses out of Kennedy Station are being redirected to Warden Station.
It should not happen because, it's really depends on our security. If you won't feel secure, then how will we move with the TTC? We need to find some other transportation then.
It's going to screw me up. It's going to screw everybody else up. It's going to screw the people that depend on the TTC to get to work. So it's a tragedy. And honestly, for the youths themselves, it's like, why do it at a public place where other people can get hurt?
There is limited information on the suspect. Today's shooting is the latest incident of violence on the transit system in the past few days. On Sunday, a man in his 50s was stabbed at the Victoria Park station, and on Saturday, several people were hurt during an assault at Kipling Station. Now, we don't know the motive for the shooting. We're expecting an update from Toronto Police at 6:15 tonight. We can tell you that service has resumed between Kennedy and Warden if you are hoping to use the subway tonight. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Finally, face-to-face, two people with lots on their plates. Olivia Chow and Doug Ford meeting for the first time since Toronto chose its new mayor.
Top of the agenda, you guessed it, money. A cash-strapped city looking for any help it can get. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live at Queen's Park with more. Natalie.
Well, Nathan, there was definitely a softer tone from the Premier today on Toronto's financial future. For months now, Doug Ford has suggested that Toronto needs to do more to find efficiencies in its budget. But today he acknowledged that the problem is structural. He says Queen's Park is willing to help, but he wants to avoid any new taxes to do it. Set to make her pitch to the Premier, Olivia Chow arrived at Queen's Park amid mounting pressure to secure a new deal with the province.
So we can make life more affordable in the city of Toronto.
We'll be able to celebrate with all the work that we're going to do together.
Doug Ford knows well the inner workings of the Toronto Mayor's office.
I stand here and you follow the eyes, they follow you. It kind of freaks me out a little bit.
And conceded today there are fiscal problems greater than gravy at City Hall.
Toronto is facing deep financial challenges that are no longer sustainable.
The pair promising to create a working group that will outline a long-term financial fix for the struggling city.
Where the funding comes from, it's really up to the province of Ontario.
The working group's mandate will be to protect city services while avoiding any new taxes or fees, even though council voted 2 weeks ago to introduce a slate of new revenue tools.
I'm just not in favor, and especially in these times that people are struggling, to put more of a burden on the backs of the taxpayers.
Asked whether he'd support giving Toronto a slice of the existing sales tax.
Not right now. What we want to do is work with them. We're going to sit down, we're going to work collaboratively together, and we're going to come up with a solution.
Premier Ford has a wonderful surplus that makes me quite jealous, and wherever he can find the funding, I will just welcome it.
The working group will reveal its financial fix for Toronto by the end of November, before the city sits down to attempt to balance next year's budget. And Queen's Park did provide a check to Toronto today, $26 million for the city's refugee crisis. That money is designed to help asylum seekers find long-term housing. At Queen's Park, I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Nathan.
All right, thank you, Natalie. Meanwhile, concerns are being raised about the general state of affairs in the city, some asking whether Toronto is in decline.
That question being posed in a very public way. CTV's Zarada Ullman is live with more. Zarada.
Michelle Thomas Caldwell does not hold back, telling local government officials they should be ashamed for destroying the city. Not surprisingly, Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow doesn't share the same view. It was a full-page ad in the newspaper, an open letter penned by prominent Toronto businessman Thomas Caldwell, who says Torontonians just put up with it, but now no more.
No, somebody's got to say something. So that was really the motivation, just enough already.
He says Toronto is a city in decline, pointing out his own experiences in just the last 2 weeks. That included, Caldwell says, physical and verbal assault on the street, shouters on the subway, speeding vehicles threatening pedestrians and other vehicles. Not to mention, he says, the problem of Toronto being, quote, effectively bankrupt.
Lots of people in the city that this is not meeting the basic requirements of an environment, a town, a city that you want to live in, whether it be safety, whether it be transportation.
The recent violence over the weekend seems to speak to Caldwell's argument. On Saturday, a police officer was sent to hospital after attempting to make an arrest at Kipling Station. And then on Sunday, a stabbing at Victoria Park Station left a man in his 50s with critical injuries.
I do think there is a lot more violence, and I think a lot of people are just going through a lot of hard times right now. So I just feel like in that sense, it's definitely on decline.
His letter calls out Toronto's mayor and city councillors, saying local government is responsible.
I think a good starting point is for city council to put their preconceived notions and ideas how everybody else should live on the shelf and listen to the people of this city.
I don't feel safe to travel in a TTC. So because of that, now I have to get a car for myself so that at least I can travel safely.
When asked about it today, Mayor Olivia Chow responding to Caldwell's claims.
Can it be more affordable? Yes. Can the service be better? Absolutely, which is why we're here. Can it be more caring? Yes, of course. But those are the things we can work on. But I reject that whole notion that the city is in decline.
The Premier backing her up, asking Torontonians,
Let's give the mayor a fair shot here. You know, I got a comment on that letter. It kind of disturbed me. She just got elected. Like, let's talk a year down the road, see where we're at.
For a little bit of teamwork and
our city's like a roller coaster. I think things will get better. Things will work itself out. As we get more employment out there and more housing, it should be better.
patience. Now, while there were violent incidents in the city this weekend, in contrast, Mayor Chow also pointed out a number of events, including the Polish and Ukrainian festivals, the Terry Fox Run, the Rubber Duck, and the Waterfront Festival, all events where she says Torontonians were out celebrating the city. I'm Zoraida Allman. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Zoraida. We got more news in a moment, but first, let's take a look outside on this Monday evening. A few clouds in the GTA. What is the rest of the week looking like? Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions, hopefully pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in this week's forecast, Nathan, but let's talk about today. It was an interesting one. We had sun, cloud, and in some cases we had thunderstorms, heavy downpours, even hail in some places. Now, some wet weather is pulling away from the downtown core. We're still seeing showers between Markham and Pickering over toward Peterborough and certainly into the Kingston area, Niagara Peninsula as well. These are very scattered in nature and are expected to clear as the night goes on. We've got gusty winds coming out of the northwest, gusting upwards of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour right now. Those will ease through the night tonight. Current temperature is 18 degrees. And here's a look at your evening at a glance. Holding on to the chance of showers early evening, drier later on. And then the next couple of days looking pretty spectacular. We'll take you through the forecast coming up. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, the fall session of Parliament began today with the issue of easing the financial burden on Canadians taking center stage.
That would include lowering food prices. So what did Canada's top grocery CEOs have to say about that after being summoned to Ottawa? CTV National correspondent Judy Trin reports.
No comments. That answer from Costco executive Pierre Riel, echoed by all the big five grocery CEOs, Galen Weston of Loblaws, Michael Medline of Sobeys, Gonzalo Gabarra of Walmart, and Eric LaFlèche of Metro.
Look forward to a productive meeting.
The CEOs summoned to Ottawa and told to come up with a plan by Thanksgiving to stabilize food prices, which are expected to go up another 7% this year. After a 2-hour meeting with the Ministers of Finance and Industry, the government said there was progress.
Bottom line is that they have agreed to support the Government of Canada in our efforts to stabilize food price in Canada.
Canadians are reeling from high mortgage and rent payments stemming from interest rate hikes and are looking for some relief. But the government nor the CEOs could offer much details about what was discussed. Instead, there's finger pointing at causes beyond the grocer's control.
It's a global supply chain issue. We receive thousands of cost increases, and that's why prices have gone up at retail. But as much as we can, we try to stabilize and lower the cost of goods sold, for sure. For sure. We negotiate hard. We want to deliver value to consumers every day in all of our stores. That's what we do. That's what we're paid for.
Everyone in there wants the same thing, which is for Canadians to have better food pricing and for that to cool down, and it will.
Are you profiteering off the backs of Canadians? The same CEOs were here in the spring, but the Liberals didn't demand action then. Opposition parties say the government is only doing something now because its hand is forced.
It's been 20 months since food inflation has outpaced general inflation. That's almost 2 years. And what has this Liberal government done? Nothing but delay and disappoint.
On the first day of the fall sitting, the Conservatives accused the Liberals of smoke and mirrors.
Their response to all this is to hold a big photo op today. The Prime Minister claims food will be affordable by Thanksgiving.
The CEOs are supposed to deliver a plan by Thanksgiving, but not results. It's unlikely Canadians will see food prices come down by the time they prepare their holiday meals. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
So what does this all mean for me and you?
For more Canadian families, a trip to the grocery store is becoming a painful experience. CTV's Rahim Ladani is live with more. Rahim.
Well, Michelle, even after grocery store CEOs and federal government ministers met in a boardroom in Ottawa today, we went and chatted with shoppers to see if there's a renewed sense of confidence that these discussions will actually lead to lower prices. The sticker shock at grocery stores has shoppers searching for relief.
If I had a family of 4 or 5 or something like that, I'd be mortified.
The cost for Canadians to feed their families has become more expensive with every trip to the market. The latest consumer price index showed inflation was up 3.3% in July. Compared that to food prices that same month, which jumped 8.5%.
If you look at the size of things, bread, my sandwich meats, whatever, cheese, anything, it's much smaller, but the price is the same or higher than it was before. So I don't know how people are expected to live on these prices.
While the federal government and top 5 grocery CEOs now have a formal agreement to work together to stabilize prices, they only have until Thanksgiving to present a concrete plan, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau threatening a potential tax, though industry experts are warning him to be careful.
This is a low margin, high volume business. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room. So if, let's say that the government comes forward with a windfall tax, we're going to be paying for it as consumers.
Another option on the table is to create more competition, which Federal Minister François-Philippe Champagne says he's trying to produce among grocery chains.
By saying to them, agree on an outcome. So the outcome has been agreed. Now you want to let them compete among each other so that Canadians can see the benefit of competition.
Those shoppers remain skeptical.
The rich stay rich by making sure the poor stay poor.
They all talk, they all promise, and they never deliver.
And they aren't holding out hope that these discussions will lead to cheaper prices on the shelves. One explanation grocery store CEOs give for why costs are so high is they say supply chain costs are also very high, and so they have no choice. Well, today we found out that the federal government plans to meet with 5 to 10 manufacturers this week and have similar discussions with the ones they had today. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you in studio.
Thank you, Raheem. A warning about some of the details and images in this next story. Some may find them disturbing. There are calls to improve how officials respond to serious dog attacks.
Comes after a terrifying incident earlier this summer. CTV's Allison Hurst reports.
This is the moment a woman was mauled by a dog in East York. And it's this attack prompting a call from a Toronto City Councillor to review the dangerous dog procedures and this incident.
These dogs that went after my constituent both were designated dangerous dogs. I'm not clear how the city lets people know that there might be a danger.
It happened on July 30th around 9:30 as a woman was walking home from dinner with a friend. Kara spoke with CTV News days after, saying a woman had 2 dogs. One barked and the other, not on a leash, lunged at her.
And I felt it bite me in my back. And so it was just, my first thought was just, I've been bit. And then I was knocked to the ground.
Kara was unavailable for an interview today, but told CTV News she's glad the review is being requested, adding that her recovery is going well, but has not been without its challenges. She says, I feel incredibly grateful that it wasn't much worse and want change to come from what I've experienced so that everyone feels safe walking in their own neighborhood. And that it's 7 weeks out from the attack and I still am not able to walk properly yet. I will need to wait a year to find out what nerve damage is permanent.
For me, it was really, I'd say eye-opening, but terrifying, absolutely terrifying to think that could happen to somebody on the street.
Councillor Paula Fletcher wants this review to include existing procedure, public notification, and proactive compliance, to name a few.
There was about 140 dangerous dog designations last year. What's the follow-up for the owner?
Dog owners we spoke with approve of the review.
Well, give us a heads up, like either on the leash or something.
It's nice to review, but how do you enforce it?
Manon Lajoie says her dog Tesla was attacked by an off-leash dog last summer while out for a walk in their neighborhood.
The dog that attacked my dog was apparently not the first time and was supposed to be, with a muzzle and everything. And the owner didn't follow the order.
Kara wants a commitment from the city to ensure dangerous dogs are properly identified and monitored. The review goes to committee on Thursday. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Thousands of customers remain without electricity in Atlantic Canada following this weekend's powerful storm.
It wasn't as bad as, as it could have been. Luckily, the cold North Atlantic water took the wind out of the sails of Lee there.
Post-tropical storm Lee unleashed winds in excess of 100 kilometers per hour in some areas. As of this afternoon, there were still about 18,000 outages in Nova Scotia, mainly along the South Shore. In neighboring New Brunswick, about 1,300 customers were without power by early afternoon, primarily in the southwest.
The backlog of air passenger complaints in this country has hit a new high. More than 57,000 have piled up at the Canadian Transportation Agency. That's well over 3 times the total from September 2022. And there have been an average of more than 3,000 complaints per month during the past year. The federal government introduced the Passenger Rights Charter in 2019, but advocates say it has not been effective because of loopholes and a lack of simplicity.
Canada will have the world's ear this week. Justin Trudeau and some senior members of his government are attending the UN General Assembly in New York. Secretary General Antonio Guterres is trying to kickstart action on 17 goals. They include ending poverty and hunger and tackling climate change. The Prime Minister will also speak at a 2-day Sustainable Goals Summit.
A decorated Olympian and world champion is the first ever draft pick by Toronto's new hockey team.
Toronto is pleased to pick on the second overall pick, Jocelyn Larocque.
The 35-year-old defender was selected today during the first round of the inaugural Professional Women's Hockey League draft. Larocque has served as an assistant captain for Canada's national team since 2018. She says she's thrilled to be joining what's shaping up to be a pretty strong hockey club.
I'm so excited. I mean, to play for Gina, play for Troy, and the players they've already signed. I'm so excited.
Turnbull, fast, Larocque, nurse, got a pretty nice ring to it.
It sure does. Yeah, I feel honored.
Meanwhile, Taylor Heisey went first overall to Minnesota during today's draft in downtown Toronto. The 23-year-old forward Heisey has starred for the U.S. national team. She's coming off her 5th and final year at the University of Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Maple Leafs will also soon be on the ice.
But today, they're still in the golf course. CTV's Mike Walker reports.
Hitting the links before the puck drops on a new season. Newly acquired Maple Leafs Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, and Ryan Reeves among the players teeing off at the Rattlesnake Point Golf Club for the annual Leafs and Legends Charity Golf Classic in support of the MLSE Foundation.
Any chance you can give back to the community in any way, especially the youth, it's a no-brainer, and we're all really excited to be here.
Proceeds from this event benefiting several youth sports programs the MLSE Foundation supports in communities across the province, which is hoping to raise about $500,000 today.
We support all sports, and we do that through granting as well as our own programs. And 2 of the amazing programs that are happening this year is our home ice hockey program and our ball hockey program, and these support over 1,000 young people.
The foundation has invested more than $45 million in communities since 2009. Former netminder Curtis Joseph among more than 24 Leaf legends participating in the event.
I was such a shy kid, but sports brought the best out in myself. So for me to see the Leafs give that much money to youth sports and kids that or otherwise wouldn't get a chance to play sports, it's near and dear to my heart for sure. And
this annual fundraiser,
nice and straight.
A sign the season is around the corner, and for Bertuzzi, Domi, and Reeves, who all signed during free agency in the summer.
I wanted to kind of be at a place where, winning was the top of, our biggest goal in it.
There is eagerness to hit the ice.
Maybe something this team's been missing is a little bit of grit over the last couple of years, and I think those guys fit the mold.
Growing up, it was always a dream to play for the Leafs, and kind of the dream behind winning the Stanley Cup. Great opportunity, obviously unbelievable hockey team.
From here, the focus shifts to the ice with the Leafs starting training camp later this week and their first preseason game against Ottawa on Sunday. Mike Walker, CTV News, Milton.
Coming up, celebrating a milestone not reached by many, a Toronto woman is among the oldest people in the world as she marks her 112th birthday. Her secret to longevity still ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many people are trying to find a side hustle to make extra money, but be careful you don't get caught in a job scam. Employment scams are on the rise. A woman says she just lost almost $400,000. I'll have my report just ahead.
Well, as the clouds clear out tonight, the temperature is going to cool down. We're forecasting a low overnight of 10 degrees. That's near normal. We'll be even cooler as we make our way into the next couple of nights. But high pressure and clear skies also means lots of sunshine, and we are in for a pretty nice stretch of it this week. Details are coming up after the break. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Canadians lost nearly $5 million to job scams last year and almost $3 million to criminals so far this year.
There are different types of job scams. One common element is that you're asked to pay money in advance as part of your employment. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. With inflation and rising interest rates, it seems more people are looking for part-time work and more victims are getting caught in job scams. We speak with a student who lost $1,700 and a woman who lost almost $400,000.
It's just devastating.
A Toronto woman who asked us to refer to her as Imran says her life has been turned upside down after she fell for a job scam. She learned about a position through social media optimizing apps and was told she could make up to $400 per day. She had to put in her own money to start, but said in the beginning she was able to take funds out.
To get the money out, you need to put in more to finish their set of 40 applications. And then when I would finish the 40 or 45, that's when I would find out that they're stalling the withdrawal.
She says as her account grew, she had to put in more money. Over time, she borrowed from family and friends. In the end, she was scammed out of $395,000.
It's very difficult right now. It feels like I'm living a nightmare.
I need the money back. I need to withdraw. Like, why don't you give the money back?
Danilo Peco got caught in a similar scam and lost $1,700 that was to pay for his schooling.
It means a lot because that's my hard-earned money. And then I was saving the money to actually pay for my tuition fee.
It is kind of a new variation of a job scam that we have been keeping an eye on.
The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre says job scams are rampant right now.
They offer you the position very quickly. There's no interview or anything like that. That's a huge red flag.
Some job scam warning signs: they want your personal information and banking details up front. You're asked to send money in advance. It's a basic job promising high pay, and all communication is on chat apps. Imran says she was hoping to make extra money, but now has no idea how she'll get out of debt.
For someone to go through this, it's just so devastating. I never want this to happen to anyone else.
And scammers will often impersonate legitimate companies, so you may think you're working for a real firm when you're not. And most employers will want to meet you in person at least once before hiring you. If they don't, it's likely a scam. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
A long-planned tribute to Queen Elizabeth II has been installed at Queen's Park. A bronze statue of the late monarch has been mounted on a granite pedestal just beyond the main doors to the legislature. The statue is staying under wraps for now, but we know from the mock-up it shows the Queen on a throne. The figure was modeled on how she looked addressing Parliament in 1977. The cost is estimated at $1.5 million. A date for the unveiling has not been set. But we are unveiling a lovely forecast this week. There's so much sunshine, really nice temperatures for this time of year. Today was kind of questionable.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good knowing that summer is wrapping up this week. At least temperatures are pretty good.
Yeah, we are sailing through the final days of the season here. Really lovely this evening after what was a little bit of a tumultuous day, depending on where you were joining us from. Thinking of you in Durham region, you had heavy downpours. Thinking of you in Wasaga Beach, where you had plenty of hail this morning. But now we're starting to see things clear out, and it's a pretty nice run of sun over the next few days here. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. This is what we're looking at on the satellite and radar. Once again, a bit of a soaker of a system headed to Atlantic Canada. We'll zoom in a little bit closer here so you can see the rotation of our low pressure system, a disturbance that, again, brought thunderstorms to some areas. Depending on where you were today, you may have also enjoyed a mix of sun and clouds, so very changeable. We've got lots of clearing happening to our west and in some areas to the north. There goes the wet weather still impacting the Niagara Peninsula and sections of the East GTA over toward Peterborough County, but conditions again are improving for downtown, and we should dry out as we make our way further into this evening and certainly through the overnight. There's about midnight still some cloud in some areas. Tomorrow, it's going to be a mostly clear day. We will have a mix of sun and cloud in some spots, but otherwise mainly sunny. Worth pointing out that there will still be some cloud lingering in through eastern Ontario and the chance of a shower in the Ottawa area, for example. Now we're looking into Wednesday, which is where we could see some cloud across southwestern Ontario, maybe a few spots of rain too. But for us, this is going to be a dry day. It's going to be a blue sky day, and this is the first in a series. In fact, right through to the early part of the weekend, things are looking dry, very pleasant and very comfortable temperature-wise. Right now we are at 18 degrees here in Toronto. It's 20 in Windsor. It's 12 in Timmins, so a little bit cooler there. Our seasonal norm is 20, and I want to just mark that just so you know what to expect by comparison to the averages over the next couple of days here. Tonight, we're dropping to 10 in Toronto, single digits in a few spots, and we too are looking at a cooler overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Here's your morning start in and around the city of Toronto. Again, about 10 degrees. And then a snapshot for tomorrow. Mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures in Oakville as well as Whitby around 21. And there's that chance of showers again in through some parts of eastern Ontario. We're going to see temperatures rise a little bit too. In addition to the sunshine that's in store, here is the 7-day forecast. Highs of 23 and 24 degrees Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, we officially welcome fall. It's looking like a beautiful day, slightly cooler with showers as we make our way into Sunday. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, the curtain closes on the Toronto International Film Festival. Just ahead, some of the big standouts from the screen to the red carpet as TIFF 2023 wraps up. Genetic testing has come a long way in recent years, helping to diagnose certain eye diseases.
And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, the hope is better detection will eventually lead to better treatments.
Ramya Amuthan's mom knew very early on that Ramya had vision problems because she wouldn't follow colorful toys with her eyes.
The only thing that she said I would track is the light. So my eyes would always go toward the ceiling or the sun or flickering candles.
Ramya has retinal dystrophy, a genetic condition known as Leber's congenital amaurosis.
The term inherited retinal disease, it's a group of really rare progressive conditions.
Larissa Maniz of Fighting Blindness Canada says great strides have been made in diagnosing genetic retinal diseases.
So a few decades ago, we knew a handful of genes that caused inherited retinal diseases. Now we've identified, or when I say we, scientists have identified over 300 different genes that can cause an inherited retinal disease. And there are more being identified every year.
I have night blindness, color blindness, lack of depth perception. I have loss of peripheral vision. I don't have much central vision. So a little bit of everything is somewhat affected.
She uses a white cane to navigate, computer keyboards, and even co-hosts a show dealing with visual impairments. And she encourages people to do genetic testing.
When I took part in it as a teenager, it was not just me, it was my entire family getting genetically tested to figure out the exact mutation of my gene that causes my eye condition, and to figure out, if my brothers are carriers, if my parents are carriers.
Knowing her mutation allowed her to participate in clinical trials. Fighting Blindness Canada says testing can also confirm your diagnosis and help you plan for your future. Genetic testing for retinal diseases is covered in Ontario with a referral from your ophthalmologist. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Well, that's a wrap. The Toronto International Film Festival is over for another year.
Hundreds of movies hitting the screen for TIFF, celebrating the best in cinema. The votes are in and the people have spoken. CTV's Sean Leithong reports.
The red carpet in front of Roy Thompson Hall is coming down as the 48th Toronto International Film Festival has wrapped. In a year when fans came, but the actor and writer's strike prevented most stars from coming to Toronto, there were a few bright spots from those who were here. Like Bowen Yang, whose film Dix the Musical won the Midnight Madness Prize.
I was watching CTV as a little boy growing up in Brossard, Quebec, Montreal, as a proud dual citizen. I'm so happy to be back in Canada. This is I'm truly, really so excited to talk to you. This is really wonderful.
Or Ethan Hawke as a doting father after working alongside his daughter Maya.
I've been watching all her work, and I've watched her develop as a human being throughout the last 25 years, so none of it surprised me. I expected her to be great.
And Oscar winner Jessica Chastain talking about herself in high school.
And I was a bit of a, not a loner, because I found the drama club when I was in high school. I would just remind myself that I was pretty on my own, that it's going to be okay. Like, there are a lot of people, you're going to try your best to please everyone. It's impossible. The most important thing is that you can look yourself in the mirror and please yourself at the end of the day.
So as the red carpet comes down on what could be called an underwhelming Toronto International Film Festival, there are also some businesses who are feeling the pinch. Many restaurants along King Street rely on the business TIFF brings in. La Fenice says they were busy, but...
Not as busy as last year, but still fairly busy, steady. So, even though with the strike of the actors and the writers, we did okay.
The big winners at the festival involved a look back at a Canadian icon.
Oh, here you are.
The heartfelt documentary Mr. Dress-Up, The Magic of Make-Believe took home the People's Choice Award for Best Documentary. The People's Choice Award for Feature Film went to American Fiction, starring Jeffrey Wright about a frustrated black novelist who, under a pseudonym, writes a book using every cliche about his race only to have it celebrated by the publishing world. The Best Canadian Feature Film went to Sophie Dupuy's drag drama Solo. Sean Lethong, CTV News.
In the UK, London police have received a sexual assault allegation after published claims by several women against Russell Brand. The assault is alleged to have taken place in Soho in 2003. Police did not identify the comedian as the alleged perpetrator, but their statement referred to the allegations made by 4 women in newspapers and on TV. A talent agency and a publisher have parted ways with Brand. The remaining dates on his tour have been postponed.
Bill Maher is backtracking on plans to resume his show during the strike by writers and actors.
I don't remember the day the term was born, although I hear AOC says only old people use it.
The talk show host said last week he would bring his show back into production, but now Maher has decided to pause his return. He says he'll wait because talks are scheduled between producers and writers and actors.
Katy Perry has reportedly sold the rights to her catalog for $225 million. Perry's songs and albums released between 2008 and 2020 have been purchased by Litmus Music. They include more than a dozen singles that went multi-platinum. Perry's preparing to wrap up her Las Vegas residency with shows until the beginning of November.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
Updating our top stories, the Prime Minister says Canada's national security agencies are investigating credible allegations that link the Indian government to the shooting death of a prominent Canadian Sikh leader, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, in BC. Canada is now moving to expel a top Indian diplomat.
For the youths themselves, it's like, why do it at a public place where other people can get hurt?
It's the latest violent incident on our transit system. A teenager sent to hospital following a shooting at Kennedy Station this afternoon. Just yesterday, a man in his 50s was stabbed at Victoria Park Station, and a police officer was injured during an incident at Kipling Station on Saturday.
Where the funding comes from, it's really up to the province of Ontario.
And Premier Ford and Toronto's new mayor, Olivia Chow, sat down for the first time today. The pair agreed to create a working group that will outline a long-term financial fix for the cash-strapped city. The group will reveal its suggestions by the end of November. Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
In business, as politicians hammer home the need for more housing in this country, construction on fewer homes broke ground last month, with investment in residential construction also falling. With more, here's Jacqueline Hansen from B&M Bloomberg.
Fewer residential construction projects broke ground last month. Canada's National Housing Agency says housing starts declined 1% as investment also pulled back. While the CMHC's data shows the number of units underway weakening, new data from Statistics Canada also shows the dollar value of investment in residential building construction falling. It declined by about 4% to $11.5 billion in July, and it fell across 8 provinces, with Ontario accounting for most of the drop. Single-family homes declined the most, to the lowest level of investment since 2020. Multi-unit construction investment also fell for the 9th month in a row. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is trading higher by almost 1/5 of a cent to a little over 74 cents US. West Texas Intermediate oil gained about 50 cents to more than $90 US a barrel. And Western Canadian Select gained almost $1 to more than $73 US a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX declined 129 points to end the day at 20,492.83. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of BNN Bloomberg.
Just a few hours now until Unifor's contract with Ford Canada expires. The union's national president says, as of now, a tentative agreement has not been reached. While we remain at the table, the likelihood of a strike increases with each passing hour. Unifor has advised more than 5,600 members at Ford facilities in Canada to prepare for all scenarios, including strike action. Members have voted close to 99% in favor of walking out if there is no deal. The contract expires at 11:59 tonight.
A creature that roamed the earth millions of years ago is expected to fetch a hefty price next month. This Camptosaurus skeleton will go to auction October 20th in Paris. It's the first time it will be available since being discovered on a private property in Wyoming in the 1990s. The skeleton is expected to sell for over $1.7 million. It's composed of over 80% original bone, an unusually high percentage. The Camptosaurus lived at the end of the Jurassic period, roughly 150 million years ago. Just ahead, she's a super centenarian, and then some. Meet the Toronto woman who's turning 112 years old. What's her secret to exceptional longevity? Find out in moments.
Tonight, the unprecedented showdown as Canada links India to murder.
An unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
New details as Ottawa expels a top diplomat over the killing of a Sikh leader. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, some people look forward to birthdays, others dread them. But when you're 112 years old, you celebrate.
CTV's Beth McDonnell was there as Helen Doan marked the incredible milestone today.
What is it? Before. R-E-R-E. 13, yes. Look.
At 112, Helen McKinnon Doan is happy, and except for contending with poor vision, healthy. She's bright and loves doing crosswords.
What does being 112 feel like?
It just feels like any other day. There's nothing clever about it.
The balloons say it. Today, Doan is celebrating her 112th birthday, born September 18th, 1911. The centenarian has an excellent memory. She remembers being a child in Northern Ontario and the First World War.
I sang on the stage for the soldiers when I was 4 years old. And my father and some friends put on a big concert to raise money for the soldiers for bandages. And I sang on the stage for them. It's a long way to Tipperary.
Over the years, Doan was a runner, played baseball, and worked as an office manager. She never got too old for a visit with Santa. Doan was married for 63 years, is a mother of 2, has 4 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. She came to Willowdale in the 1950s and still lives in the area with her 85-year-old daughter, also named Helen.
It is just such a gift to have my mom here with us. And She is a delight to be with. She has a wonderful sense of humor. She has a love of life. She has wisdom that is incredible.
Tonight, Doan is celebrating the milestone with a few close family members. There's a cake and not much fanfare.
That's beautiful.
So what's the secret to her longevity?
I told someone to keep on breathing.
Add to that, being active and lucky.
A speed contest.
A race.
Look at that race.
Having the chance once again to mark a life well lived, not done by a long shot. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
All right, keep on breathing. Great advice, great sense of humor. Happy birthday.
She said so many birthdays, it's no big deal. But let's give her a birthday present weather-wise. I mean, we've got lots of sun for Helen.
I think this is a nice gift for us all the next couple of days, what's in store. But we'll take one more look at the satellite and radar. We had a few showers today, thunder showers in some cases too. That is moving out, clearing out. Tomorrow's forecast daytime high is 22 degrees, which you'll notice is on the warm side of seasonal. We're at about 20 when it comes to our average daytime high. School day forecast, yeah, you'll probably need a light sweater for the walk to school. You can get rid of it for the walk home. Afternoon looks great. And then here's the 7-day forecast. We might see a little bit of cloud creep in here and there on Thursday, but other than that, a real nice stretch. A reminder, we welcome fall officially Saturday morning. Michelle and Nathan.
Fall already here. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.